challenges, and we will talk about greening situation in Costa Rica and Mexico. And I think this is a picture that all of you know. It shows the greening's distribution all over the world. But this is important. It shows current distribution of greening throughout Central America. Up to 2004, it was a disease that had the potential of reaching the whole Americas, and after that it was found in Brazil, Florida, Cuba, and it was nonstop. All countries from Central America now have greening. Especially in Mexico, it was found in 2009, and in Costa Rica 2 years later, 2011. Just to give you an idea about citriculture in Mexico, it is very diversified. It represents almost 3% of the national DGP, with an important share of limes and lemons that represents 1.5%. After that, oranges, and then grapefruit. Mexico is the second exporter worldwide. And I'm sorry about my Spanish, mixing Portuguese and Spanish. So Mexico is the second worldwide lemon exporter. And also important is that, and I highlight that paragraph, the context of Mexican citrus culture. We have here 30,000 hectares, but look, 530,000 hectares actually, but 60% is mechanized. So you start seeing some areas that contradict greening control. 63% has applied technology, and 40% have technical assistance. So this is a large surface in different, divided in different crops, and throughout the domestic territory it has different climatic conditions, and this is difficult to control and to manage greening. Now analyzing Mexico's production in 2016, production was of 7 million tons. Estimated for 2018 is 8 million, and this is a projection for the Mexican government, considering the current situation with the same areas. We know that this can drastically change depending on greening and other diseases development in Mexico as well. We here highlight two different crops, were limes and lemons in 2016. Of the 7.5 million tons, they have represented 2.4, a volume of 1.75 for national consumption, whether juice or market, and a volume of 0.7 million tons for export. For oranges, that have represented 4.6% of the production. Most of that was for national consumption and distributed, and 62% for the fruit market and 38% for industrial processing, which represents 40 million boxes, and that was for 2016. We can talk about advantages. In Mexico, maybe, since in Brazil greening was found, some countries have started campaigns for management, and Mexico started that campaign in 2008, basically in that tripod that is known about detection and elimination of diseased plants, a regional control of the vector, and the control of certified plants. So a year before detection, because of that it was found, they started working on greening's management. And we'll talk about the first work done about detection and elimination of diseased plants. And Mexico has diagnosis capacity. We have several labs there that perform analysis, 2 official labs, one in Querétaro and the other one in Mexico City. We have labs that are approved by the official agency, and they also have mobile labs. When they find new regions, a team goes to the area. Regarding plants elimination, we start seeing Mexico's diversity. Here in red, we see that some states with high incidence of the disease, plants are not eradicated anymore. But in other states, they still do the conventional management. And that has the authorization of growers and farmers in order to eradicate the plants. And further on, you will understand why there is this difference in the different states. Regarding regional control of the vector, Mexico chose the name Arcos for the regional control of Psyllidium. Just like here in Brazil, this is a coordinated action with the growers where they would look for areas around 1,000 hectares to work during short periods of time in specific time frames according to shooting or the presence of psyllid, so that they could carry out the control of the psyllid. So they use a very good system for monitoring done every 2 weeks for psyllid populations, so that they can make the decisions regarding applications. So how are they organizing themselves and how they operate that operation? Well, this is a responsibility of state centers. And what is interesting is that the government, by using these centers or having these centers, they support the growers with part of the inputs so that they can have the regional applications. Not all of them, but also part of the budget from the government contributes to the regional application. The growers are the ones that do the spraying, and they have the help of a technical group, and this technical group will decide about what's going to be used, what insecticide will be used, what is the final destination of the fruit, what is the residue, and all the details. Mexico also has a huge installed capacity for Tamarixia, one in Colimia by Pacific Ocean with a capacity of 1.2 million individuals a year, and another one in Merita in the peninsula, in the Atlantic Peninsula, with a capacity of 3 million individuals a year. This is a consolidated figure from January to 2010 up to September of last year, where the total produced of Tamarixia in these two labs over 50 million individuals, and 42 million individuals of Tamarixia have been released. Finally, the last point of this tripod of greening in Mexico, the production of certified plants. If I'm not mistaken, 2009 or 2010, that's when they have established the domestic plan. Now the government has the germplasm bank, the seeds production, and the traditional system, such as the one that we have in Brazil and other countries as well. Now, going back where the greening was first detected in Mexico, it happened in July of 2009 in the Tizimín Peninsula in Yucatan. In the same year, in December, on the other side, in Puerto Vallarta in Jalisco, it was detected. Both of them in the Mexican lime and home trees, both plants. And so what is the current status now from March 2018? The red areas are the ones where we have both plants as well as psyllid, positive, the red striped areas are the ones where we have psyllids, and green are the areas where we don't have anything, they're absent. So this is where we have Veracruz. This is the main producing state. And a little while ago, we did not have greening there, so that was a big question. So how come Veracruz in Mexico does not have greening yet? As I said in the beginning, Mexico's diversity is in production is very large. Here on the side of the Atlantic, we have sweet oranges over 20 years old. They have the rootstock, and they have very different characteristics from the Pacific trees, where we have limes, lemons in a different climate. So it's difficult to analyze Mexico under a single point of view. We have to have a specific understanding for each status, for each area. This is a summary of the health plan for regarding greening for all states. So we have here the cities with greening, the commercial farms of a total of 103,000 farms, over 12,000 of them already have that, so 12%. And in the service, and here we have 507,000 hectares, we have 15% of the area with positive greening already. It's important to highlight some of the states, such as Colima. This is a known case with a lemon. Also, we'll talk about Michoacán and Veracruz. These are states from the Pacific area where the surface is already very high with greening, differently from other states from the Caribbean and Atlantic where infestation is low. This chart summarizes the effect of the production in Colima in 2010. When it was detected, we had around 400,000 tons, and now 2015, 190,000 tons. This is an important reduction in the lemon production in Colima. Veracruz is the main producing state, over 240,000 hectares, especially producing oranges. Also has a high figure of positive detections, a percentage that is still low in vegetable material, especially in psyllids, but it's already there, it's already present in Veracruz. And Michoacán, the second producing state, here you see the difference, especially in lemons, with over 48 million hectares of lemon, and we already had there 100% infections, positive detections. We have a higher detection in vegetable material, and it's very high, the incidence of psyllids in Mexico. The population of psyllids in Mexico is very high. Well, summarizing, what would be the three main challenges for citriculture in Mexico, such as some have mentioned? It's important to analyze and take into consideration the size of the properties. There are properties that are larger, take up more region, but most of them are small farms. They come from an agricultural reform, and where one plot might be close to another, but they could be smaller than 10 hectares, and that's a challenge, that's difficult in Mexico. Second, there is a lack of culture of regarding plant health. There were not other diseases before greening, so people don't know how to deal with a health plant. And also, third, there is not an organization in this sector. Now let me turn to Costa Rica. This is a totally different dimension, a small country. The 2014 census indicated the presence of 22,000 hectares of citrus, especially in the north region and the border with Nicaragua. There is the Atlantic climate influence. It's the 13th world producer with 320,000 tons. This is a country where production differences are due to climatic changes, uh, uh, different rainfall over 2,600 millimeters. And with all this volume is for industrial production. In September of 2009, the country started organizing itself, taking preventive measures regarding greening entry. These are few actions taken in 2009. I'm not going to go into details here, but what was important is that they had a decree authorizing the government to eradicate the plants and also to take a few other actions. In March of 2011, it was found for the first time in the country. This is the state of Alajuela. These are citrus properties. Here we have Nicaragua and some properties in Costa Rica. And the first detection happened in the north of the country, and Nicaragua had the detection a year before. That's why it was so close. And today, what is the situation of the country? So it's already distributed throughout the whole territory, the national territory. And the states in green have not been inspected yet, but you already find silage throughout the whole country, especially here in the most important region where we have the processing industries. It's important to say that there is this decree with a technical commission and also with an agency to fight greening and other diseases as well. And this action was taken last year. The government, by the means of a decree, decided that any type of project, whether public or private, had to be supervised by a technical group that would assess and approve or not that project. So they're trying to organize themselves and bring in together the government and the private sector, and here are some actions showing that type of organization, that initiative. Now, this is briefly a work we developed. This is a farm in Costa Rica, showing that the impact of greening there is just as tragic as in any other country. This is a farm where some of our colleagues have visited, and we have analyzed different fruits from different plants. No symptoms plants with fruits with no symptoms, symptomatic plants with no symptoms of fruits, and symptomatic plants and fruits. Here you see the fruits. So the potential of the disease is there in the country in these first detections. Let me show you this picture. You see the fruit drop. These are real pictures from that farm in Costa Rica. Here you can see that. So March 2015, 20%. March 2016, 80% of the farm had already been taken. So full plant health abandonment. They were not doing anything, and this is a reality in most of the Central America. We see the results here. So symptomatic plant and fruit, 996 fruits per box. And they also have a very high acidity level. I'm almost done. Some problems we face in Costa Rica. This is the main exporter for pineapple, over 55,000 hectares. Unfortunately, swinglet, a type of a lemon, was being recommended by pineapple companies to be planted as a windbreaker. So we had to take an action, work with the government so that they would halt this recommendation. They had thousands of nurseries with the production of that type of lemon. We also face another problem. There is lack of regulation in the production and commercialization of plants. This is the citrus planting selling. They have no control on the sale and distribution of plants in the country. And now to conclude, so what are the three main challenges for citriculture in Costa Rica? The regularization of production and commercialization of citrus plants. There, this is not a reality. Think about the state of São Paulo. Since 2000, this is already organized, but for them, it's still a challenge. It's difficult to register new molecules, and also they do not have that health plant culture. The growers do not have that. Most of them do not. And that's what I had to bring to you regarding Mexico and Costa Rica. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.